Hello, my friends, and welcome to another episode of Ghost Stories and Folklore. Tonight, I am going to tell you about one of the most haunted penitentiaries in the United States, Eastern State Penitentiary. Eastern State, or ESP for short, is located in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. The term penitentiary came from this prison. It was based on the original philosophies implemented for the incarcerated that were sentenced to serve their time here. They were to become penitent for their sins. When the prison first opened, it incorporated the revolutionary system of separate incarceration, first pioneered at the Walnut Street Jail in Philadelphia, which emphasized principles of reform rather than punishment. Now, over the years, notorious criminals such as Al Capone and the bank robber Willie Sutton were held inside the innovative wagon wheel design. James Big Joe Bruno and several male relatives were incarcerated here between 1936 and 1948 for the alleged murders and the Calais Massacre of 1934. At its completion, the building was the largest and most expensive public structure ever erected in the United States, and quickly became a model for more than 300 prisons worldwide. Although the concept of this reform was meant to guide the criminals back to what society believed to be normal behavior, a more darker side of the prison emerged. Deaths at the prison ranged from execution, torture, disease, suicide, murder, and old age. Some say that death for these souls was the easy way out, as if you were a prisoner here, solitary confinement was how all the inmates lived. It believed it was supposed to help reform them. The inmates would never have contact with each other and would live out their sentence in silence and solitude. When they were moved from cell to cell, their heads were covered. This was done to keep the seclusion, while others believe it was done so that the prisoners could not learn their way around the prison. When the prisoners were allowed to go outside of their cell for 1 hour a day in order to get fresh air and daylight, the times were scheduled so that not more than one prisoner was outside within the same area. This solitude was sometimes too much for those who were imprisoned here, and would sometimes drive them to insanity. Since talking was not permitted, one of the tortures was an iron gag, which was the most feared tortures ever given. This gag would be placed on the prisoner's mouth, with their tongue chained to their arms and wrists, while they were strapped behind their back. Any type of movement would cause thrashing of the tongue. Some of the prisoners would end up dying from this treatment since they were left to bleed to their deaths. Other tortures such as the mad chair, the hole, and the water bath were implemented to assist in teaching the prisoners lessons. Some were so severe that they were those who did not always survive. In the 1840s, writer Charles Dickens visited the prison and found the conditions to be appalling. He described the inmates of Eastern State as being buried alive and wrote about the psychological torture the inmates suffered at the hands of their captors. Prior to its reform in 1913, the prison, which was designed to house 250 inmates, had over 1,700 prisoners jammed into tiny makeshift cells where there was little light and even less ventilation. Finding that the conditions of the prison being unacceptable, the prison was taken over and reformed, and the Pennsylvania system was abolished. In 1979, the large prison was closed. Many paranormal investigators visit the prison every year and report that it is a hub for otherworldly activity. One major paranormal episode reported occurred to a locksmith during restoration work on cell block number 4. According to the tale, he was working to remove a 140-year-old lock from the cell door when a massive force overcame him so powerfully he was unable to move. Some believe when he removed the key, it opened the gateway to the horrific past and offered the spirits caught behind its bars a pathway out. The man spoke of experiencing an out-of-body state as he was drawn towards the negative energy which burst through the cell. Anguished faces appeared on the cell wall. Hundreds of distorted forms swirled around the cell block, and one dominating form seemed to beckon the locksmith to him. The man's experience was so vivid, years after, he would shudder in fear when he talked about it. There have been many paranormal reports from the prison dating back as early as the 1940s, with things such as cell blocks known for echoing voices and cackling, shadowy figures darting along the walls, footsteps, apparitions, wails, whispers, and these reports continue to happen over and over again. Are these echoes of the prison's dark past? Or are these the spirits trapped here in fear of their final judgment? Maybe you should visit Eastern State Penitentiary and find out for yourself. If you like this episode of Ghost Stories and Folklore, be sure to hit the like button. And if you would like more videos from Panady videos in the future, make sure you hit the subscribe and the bell for notifications. If you dare.